What's going on, creatives? Wanted to check in again and just let you know what's going on this week. You probably watched the same video that I did, this one.
If you're online and you see the phrase music theory, try replacing it with the phrase the harmonic style of 18th century European musicians.
And I just have lots to say. I have a lot of thoughts. And I will say I am making a longer video with my reaction to that. Expect that in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to give my just initial impression. I know he changed the title to Music Theory and White Supremacy. And I think that that change makes a lot of sense. Music theory is it's very easy for me to come out and say, oh, well, music theory, it's complicated. There's a complicated history here. I agree with almost every single thing that Dr. Ewell and Adam Neely have said. There are a couple things that I want to add. Again, I'll make a longer video addressing those things, but I just thought it was important to say this video, I'm so happy that it was made because first off, we are now talking about music theory outwardly and openly. I actually completely agree. The harmonic style of 18th century European musicians, and I think that whole thing is absolutely true. The other thing I want to just talk a little bit about is how he frames a lot of these things. He frames it as if music theory itself is racist. And I think that, yes, it is tied to a systemic problem of race and gender and all these different things. And Dr. Ewell is correct. These things are mostly white, mostly male, and mostly German. And why? I think that's the really big question. But I think a large question that maybe doesn't get answered beyond, well, this is the way that we've always done it, is what is the pedagogy of it? Why did these things get perpetuated? I think systemic racism is a large problem here, and institutional support is largely a system that has stayed racist. The academic system is very white supremacist leaning, whether they'd like to admit it or not. As somebody who is in academia, I agree with that. I agree that we need to do a lot. And so that's why a lot of what I'm going to talk about in my response is going to be mostly about the music theory pedagogy and realistically just music pedagogy. What is a music student? What does the average person who's studying music at a college of music actually want out of their music degree? Is it that they want to be orchestral musicians? Is it that they want to be band directors? Is it that they want to be DJs? Is it that they want to be jazz musicians or whatever? I don't think that there's a wrong answer to that question. I don't know the answer. I don't know if a lot of people know the answer. I don't think most faculty know that answer. What we teach in music school is an outdated method, and I agree with that. And how we're going to decide what is going to happen here, I think has actually more to do with where these things go. Who is the average music student at music school, and what are their goals after they graduate from music school? I think that that's a really important question, because if the average person actually is someone who actually does want to go and study classical music, they want to study the work of 18th century musicians, then they should be allowed to. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't know more. I think they should. There is something to say about having a wider depth than there is a larger breadth of knowledge when it comes to a specific subject. This isn't me arguing against Adam or anything he says, but what it is saying is that he's looking at this from his own perspective as a student, and from talking with Dr. Ewell, who's a music theory professor. Dr. Ewell is saying all the right things, and I agree with everything he's saying. I just think that what happens is that we sometimes think that music school is this monolith and every music school is the same, but every music school has its own culture. You know, at my undergraduate institution, I learned about Indian music. I learned about Middle Eastern music. I learned about all these different types of music. We had to perform this music, and that was part of our practice. And there were problems with that class, but at the end of the day, like, some institutions do actually talk about these things. And this is not a, some institutions do this and some don't. No, all institutions should. I'm just saying that it comes down to institutional power. They're not the ones they're not the schools that you hear and you're like, oh, that person's important. Because we think about hierarchy. And I think that is where a lot of this comes from. And this video is already longer than I wanted it to be. Like I said, expect a very long video coming my way in my reactions that comes with research and actually citing my sources, because I know that's a big one. And also, like, I've done this research. I have done papers on music theory pedagogy, music and social justice, and also music and politics. And all these things are related. Politics plays such an important role in what is getting taught in contemporary music theory, and it's mostly related to the Cold War. Why is this a thing? So, okay, that's all I want to say. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you have specific questions you have for me in response to Adam Neely's video, please post them down below or send me a note. I want to hear them. I will include them if I can. And most of all, super happy to have you, and thanks for watching.